So we'll turn.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. It says this meeting's being recorded. Just push continue.
Yes.
Is that good? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I was going to try to share on, let me see if it'll share my screen. Can you see that? And I can talk at the same time.
Yep. We can see it.
You can see it?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. A little bit about me. Yes. Thank you so much, Kim, for having me do this. I always get so nervous. I have 3 boys, and what I'm going to talk to you about is our summer projects. You may have seen us on the news. It all started back in 2016 when we were having quite a situation with all the police officers that were getting killed. And I actually printed off the first post I've ever written about it, just to refresh myself before this. And it's kind of a neat story. We were watching the news together as a family, and the boys were, CNN was on our, and I think the boys were, how old were they? I believe 8 and 6. I can't really remember. And they were watching the news, and they saw these officers being declared dead on the news, and they were very upset. My father, I was raised, my dad was the sheriff, and so it hit too close to home. And I was in the kitchen and I was cooking, and the boys were really teary-eyed, and they came up to me and they're like, what do we do? And I know that feeling of helplessness, and I looked at them and I says, well, what do you want to do? And they brainstormed, and they came to me with a plan to do lemonade stands for the fallen officers' families, their kids. So this is kind of, they did several that summer of 2016. They actually included a lot of their friends that went ahead and helped them. They just solicited all the friends from the neighborhood and started doing free lemonades for the police officers and raising money for the kids. And so that was a pretty neat experience. And this is kind of how the first time it started. They made cookies, they did everything themselves. And from there, we kind of went through that, and we started doing it every summer. Every summer they had to pick a project that they felt completely just something that they wanted to do. And it actually is pretty cool because of their example, other kids around the country started doing lemonade stands and sending us videos of it. So that was a really neat thing to see the impact that they had. So we went from that, and they made this, they made news stations, things like that. They never wanted the publicity. They always sought us out. And we always said, if it's something good, we'll just keep going about it. But it kind of makes you have to be careful with the media. And I'll get into that a little bit later. I'm actually going to use you can see this screen, right? Is it just the Facebook that's on? Sorry, are you talking? I can't hear you.
Sorry, hit the wrong button. Yes, we can see your Facebook page.
Okay, just this page, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that was in 2016. In 2017, we take it back to 2017. Sorry, I should have this all queued up. They decided to do letters for all 50 states. They wanted to write police officers in all 50 states. And let's see, right here. So we started that. And what they ended up doing, I know this is kind of backwards a little bit. Hold on. Sorry. I'm actually going to play this video if it'll work. Can you tell me if this works? Oh, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I have sound. I don't have sound. That won't work. Okay. What they ended up doing is they continued to do more lemonade stands. And then we went from that to writing a letter to officers, to law enforcement in all 50 states. And so what they did was they did 2 precincts, or what do you call it? Law enforcement agencies in each state. So they ended up writing over 100 letters, and they would get stuff back from them, obviously, but they basically wrote to them and asked about their city and wanted information about their state and all that kind of stuff, and then just wished them well and thought, all that kind of thing. So they met their goal, and they ended up doing all their letters. They ended up writing them back and stuff, and this is kind of how it went. Then after they wrote a letter, they had to write back another thank you letter and what they learned about that state and about that area, and it helped their handwriting. That was really nice. And they sent a picture, and that was in 2017, and they actually made their goal. So we had a little calendar, or we had just learned all these different things about the United States. And they got lots of stuff, as you can see, t-shirts, pins, all sorts of stuff, challenge coins. It was a really neat experience. And then we had a huge poster in our dining room, and we would put a little pin in every time to the city and the area that they got their thing, until all of it was full, even all the way down to Hawaii, all of it was full. So it was pretty cool. And then their next thing was a book drive. So how that came about was, I can't get these kids to do it unless they want to do it. So it's a very important thing. It can't come from me. It has to come from them. And Caden was at the Quest there in West Haven, and the teacher, somebody ruined a book that was in the classroom, and the teacher was pretty upset. And she just basically lectured the kids that these are her books that she has to pay for, and bring them into the classroom for the kids to share and check out with her and things like that they can have in the classroom. And that bothered Keaton so much that she had to pay out of pocket for her, for those books. So the next thing ended up being, sorry, I gotta scroll, sorry. The next thing that ended up being was, they ended up doing a book drive. Let me see if I can get there to that book drive. I'm almost there. Hold on. This is where we ended up doing the book drive. Hold on. Sorry. I promise. Okay, here we go. They ended up asking the community, people from all over sent us books in the mail. Different people purchased books and gave them to us, or we hit up money they earned from a lemonade stand to buy books. They actually did that. They did a lemonade book, or a lemonade stand to purchase books at like DI and different yard sales and stuff like that. And they ended up, their goal, if it shows, their goal was only like 100 books. They ended up with over 1,000 books that they collected. And what they did was they split it up in boxes of 100 books and delivered them to 10 schools for teachers to use in their classroom, so they wouldn't have to pay for out of pocket for them. And then we did a reading program that summer to help with that. Then that was 2019. Oh, sorry. That was, can you hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. In
Yes,
2000,
we'll hear you.
oh, perfect. 2019, they picked a different project. They picked to write to veterans, and our whole summer was, they wanted to write to 100 veterans. And so we actively collected 100 different mailing addresses from all over the United States. And they ended up writing to 100 veterans, just getting to know. They wanted knowledge about what they did in the military, what they liked about the military, what their experience was, whatever. We made it very generic so they can share with us whatever they felt comfortable with. Different jobs in the military. That's typically what these two wanted to learn, is different jobs in the military. And so they wrote 100 letters. And I think we actually surpassed that, if I remember right. And for that summer in 2019, we focused on patriotism. So any military memorial, any type of military, anytime they honored anything, we went to that event. So we ended up in Heber. We talked to some World War II veterans. They got to meet and shake hands with them. They did the D-Day, when they did the memorial for the D-Day, and that was in Heber. We got to, just as much as we could, I put them in there to hear the stories. We watched movies, we watched documentaries together. I really instilled into them what patriotism means. And that was a really amazing summer. And they ended up hitting, they did hit all of their their goals. So that's another thing, when we sit down and write it out, what they want to do, it's always a goal of how many they want to do. We open a P.O. box, so nothing comes to my house. And I open all the mail and I vet it before I give it to the kids. So that all goes through me. That way, if there's anything weird, we always make sure safety is number one. And so they ended up writing them back, and they actually have some really cool trinkets from different people and different veterans around. Also on the news again. So they seek us out and they want to do stories and things like that. And I'm fine with it. There are some things that, to protect the kids and things like that. We go over that. And and with this actually has a project in store right now. They went to a cemetery for Memorial Day, and they are trying to work with the city to get their markers put with a veteran symbol of some sort. Some people do coins and they etch them into the dill just to mark them, to know who's a veteran, so they can honor them in different cemeteries around the area. And that's actually still in the works. We still work with the city to try to get that done. And then, so this is kind of more about that project. In 2019, they decided to do that. And they got sand from Iwo Jima, just different things that they've gotten, and got to know different veterans all over the country. The final was 147. So they had to check the mail all the time, and it was just really cool. And that helped them do different things like this, like the chief warrant officer who passed away during duty. He actually ended up being buried in our hometown. So we went there to support. Just, it leads to different things. And then, kind of a side note, Caden, my oldest, he was going to ACYI, and he wanted to give all the girls a flower. So he raised money, and that was a separate thing. He raised money to give a girl, every single girl in the school, for Valentine's Day, a flower. So he ended up doing that, and he reached his goal as well. And this brings us to 2020, the big COVID year. I was working a lot. I worked at the hospital in the ICU, so that was a crazy time. But what I ended up doing was, obviously we couldn't go anywhere. We didn't want people passing things around and stuff like that, but we ended up contacting several nursing homes, and that's what they did. They wrote letters and sent pictures, and they didn't expect anything back because of the slew of mail that people were getting, because it was a cool project for full families. And that's what we did. We actually, all of us participated, even the little one. I have a at the time he was 5 years old. He even participated, and we all just made it a fun thing to ask questions. And we've got several letters back. I can't remember the exact number. And that brings us to this year. This year, 2021, They decided to make the focus of the summer kindness. So what they wanted to do is write letters to kids who needed a friend. And I believe my count is 57. We had planned, the original goal was 20 that they planned on. And this is the little video that they did right here. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, whoops. I don't know if you can see that, but they did a little video. Oh my gosh, I can't. Anyway, they did a little video on it, and they just basically said, if you need a friend, let us know. We want to write to you, or you can write to us and we'll write you back. And so far they have different places all over the world. They have it in Texas, Utah, West Virginia, Nevada, Missouri, Florida, England, Korea, even Sri Lanka. They got 2 pen pals in Australia and 1 in Africa. And there's international pen pal sites and stuff like that that got a hold of our deal that was shared to. That like I said, I still vet everything. I open the mail, I go through all of it before they see it. So that way it's real safe. And then they have been busy writing this summer to all sorts of people, lots of letters. This is more fun because they can write to each other and they ask different questions. And I have a couple lists printed out of questions that they ask, and you can kind of see in this picture, that's what he's using in this picture. There's several questions that they know how to do, and I just make sure it's eligible, that they can read it and whatnot. And then I address the envelopes and things like that, and I put the letters in there, and then we go off and send them out. So that's how that works, and that's this year. So if anybody has any questions, that's kind of our summer project. So go for it. I'll answer anything you guys have. And I don't know if I can see the chat. Hold on. Can you see me now? Okay. If you want to ask questions or.
Sherrie, tell them
Yes.
how it's affected your boys.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you. We are a family. As far as I grew up with the dad who was the sheriff. And so we were not naive to the world. Let's put it that way. So a lot of good conversations have come out of just different situations. And I tell them that they're empowered to do something about it. They don't have to feel helpless. There's always something they can do. And it could be little and it could be big. And the little things they noticed make big differences, and they see the ripple effect of that. Just like I told you about the lemonade stands, it ripples through, and other people get ideas, or other people are like, oh, I want to write letters too. Even their friends have tried to come and jump on and say, hey, can I write a letter to one of your pen pals, somebody who needs a friend? And some of these kids are autistic. They don't have, the stories are sad. And I'll read them to them, and I'll let them know that this person needs extra love or care or whatever. And it affects everybody around them. They're all a part of it. It's not just the 2 boys. Any project we've ever done, we've always had community help or neighborhood help for sure. That's huge. And I can see that they look for ways to serve without me saying anything. So like I said, they come up with a project, so they know by April of next year, they've got to have ideas for the next project, and they're constantly looking for ways to serve and things like that. So it definitely does affect them also with just being kinder, because they don't know, you never know what people are going through. So we've had a lot of good discussions that way. I mean, even when it's sad and even when it's really, really heartbreaking, I just let them cry. I let them hear, I hear it all. I hear all the emotion. I let them know, like, this does suck. Our world is not, it's not roses. It's tough, and there's tough stuff, and they're going to be a part of this world. And this is the world they're given. And I want them to know as much about it as I possibly can. So it's helped open up great discussions. It's helped understand, different perceptions that they normally wouldn't have. So I feel like our conversations can get really deep, and they have a good sense of understanding, as much as I possibly can give them. So it has impacted the whole family, I should say, not just our boys. Our whole family has been really driven. I have a question. What does your timeline for a project usually look like? When do you start the goal setting for a project? When do you set your completion date? So the hardest part, I will tell you, about these projects is following through. The ideas are great. The ideas come amazing. The ideas come amazingly. There's a lot of ideas at first, and we sort them out to what they can possibly accomplish. Usually the ones that they are most hard-headed on and set to do is what we go through with. And then the planning stage. So I start it's usually around spring break in April is when they have to come to me with their ideas. We start really getting all the information and what we need to do in our plan set by May. Everything gets launched by May, June, and then their end date for that is August. And I usually take them to Lagoon to, they completed the project or whatever. We do something really, really fun as a family so they can, because it's a lot of work. I will tell you, those letters are hard. And they actually chose letters. And when they started getting into it, it gets a little overwhelming. So we have to space it out. I have them do, if we had the hundreds of letters like we've done in the past, over 100, we've done 10 a week or 15 a week, and we space it out every other day. And we have a gold number that we do. And what I do is I address them. I make sure that that's all correct, that they're writing the right person. And then once they're done finishing their letter and it's eligible, then we mark it and put it. I do all of that. So I just follow through that they have a goal to do. And that's probably the hardest part. I will tell you, there's been tears. It's not all roses. It's been difficult. I've cried at the table trying to get them to stay motivated. I'm like, we've got to do it, so it's definitely the follow through. It's easy to have the ideas, but it's definitely that follow through that has the most work. So we definitely start that, and then we start tapering down, and we start sending thank you letters the end of July for the ones that we've gotten through August, and we'll still get several letters. And if they do and they're already in school, we send those letters maybe on we write those letters on the weekends, just to follow through all the way through the project, and we'll send a thank you and things like that. So it's pretty good. Trying to think. The book drive was a little different. When we just collected books all summer, and then in the fall when school finally started, then we dropped them off. I think it was a late start Wednesday that we went around to all the schools that were open, and we just dropped them off at the office. So that's what we ended up doing. I let them cry. That is building resilience, allowing kids to feel emotions, deal with reality, and help them work through it. And that's absolutely true. There are some really hard conversations we have had, just on the crap that's going on. Absolutely. And how to navigate that and be good about doing something positive, and always looking for the positive in the hard moments. Even on the news, it's kind of like the whole where you look for the helpers. And that's kind of what I point out all the time. Look for the helpers, look for the good stuff. The media is a double-edged sword. I will tell you that. We have gotten a lot of hate because of the media. I'm very more protective now that we stay away from the media, regardless of what they do. I feel like we don't need that. We don't seek it out. We don't look for it. But it was nice to have positive things out there. And that's what kind of made us do it in the beginning was, there's positive things. People need to see this. People need to see that. your example, and maybe, like the ripple effect type thing. But it definitely comes with a double-edged sword. Caden is now getting to the point where he sees the comments, he sees oh, your son's gay, or the different things that we've had to work out as well. So that has set us up for some even more difficult challenges, but they've been so good to really know anytime there's anything good, there's always a negative undertow, and it will come and find you, and it could drag you down and make you stop trying to do nice things. And I think even as adults, we kind of find that too. People are like, oh, what's your motive? What, you're constantly questioning, what do you want out of this? And that's really hard to answer to when you're just trying to do your absolute best as a parent. So that was really tough. But I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything. I think everything that they've done to this point is it's definitely impacted people from all over. And we still get letters from different police precincts and stuff that say our letter, it's hanging up in their office, or those boys' letters they have job offers even at different police stations. Which I don't know how I feel about that, but we're working through it. But any more questions? Hopefully I'm answering them, but go for it. Ask me anything. Oh, I love that. I love that. It says, do it anyway. People will be unkind. Do it anyway. There will be hard days. Do it anyway. Some people won't understand. Do it anyway. Love what you are doing. Oh, thank you. Yes, that's exactly. You have to do it for the right reason. You cannot do it for any other reason. It has to be for the right reason. And that's what drives you. That's what drives them. I mean, they really know we don't need anything. And that is. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes, I appreciate that. Any other questions?
Well, I just have to say, Sherrie, I always look forward to seeing what you're doing with your kids. You are such a good mom, and I'm sure you do have a lot more tears than we see on Facebook, but
Yes.
honestly, you inspire me to be better. And service
Wow.
is so important for kids. You can see a huge difference in the way they act towards other people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they seek it out. They see that lonely kid that's sitting on because of this kindness project. They look for kids who aren't playing in the neighborhood even. So, just different. It just opens their mind up to, you don't know what somebody's going through either. So it's really good.
Yes. All right. Anybody else have any other questions before we wrap up today, or share you anything else you want to share, or wisdom?
No, I feel like if anybody, I think supporting your kids through any ideas they have, even if it's, it's going to be a lot of work. Some of these have been a lot of work, and I'm in the back. I'm just the back support, and I just want to support them so much to let them know that they're capable of anything and that they can do anything they set their mind to. And that's really what I am as mom, is just the support. They have the ideas, they run with it. I never tell them, oh my gosh, that's stupid. Or, I never downplay their feelings about, whatever it is they see. It always leads to a good discussion, and it always leads to an action. And I tell them that as they keep acting on whatever they feel, they'll do great. And they'll make an impact no matter how small. And I said they only need to help one person. One person needs that letter. One person needs that kind word. One person needs that book to help, whatever it is, grow into something even more positive. And that's it. All we can do is support our kids. And that's what I try to do. And that's it.
I love it. And it's true. It only takes one person, and changing somebody's life just one person at a time makes all the difference. Well, thanks again, Sherrie, for being on today and sharing your wonderful projects you do with your boys and your insight and the things that you've learned. So we will end today. We'll be back next week at 1 o'clock. And so thank you guys all again for being in attendance today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.